producers are not wealthy because of advances. Independent labels probably, in my experience, they pay some of the larger independents between 1,000 and 3,000 per beat. Good morning. What's going down? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club. I only have one of my co-hosts to introduce today. We got Erinn Knight. Somehow Dame caught whatever I had a couple weeks ago through the internet. Sorry, Dame. We hope Dame feels better. Oh, damn! Now I gotta remember the phone number at the end of the episode.
I'll look it up. I got you.
I got it. I'm the producer. I can figure this out. But how are you feeling this morning, Erinn?
I'm great. It's been a little chaotic this morning, but that comes with the territory. I'm excited because I'm speaking in Boston this weekend at a music conference concert thing. So I'm just trying to finish through tomorrow, and I fly out on Friday morning, and I'm hyped because, I'm going to New England for the 4th weekend, so it should be a lot of really interesting things that I've never encountered. I don't really believe in holidays, especially American holidays, but I think it'll be dope to eat the food and see the sights. So I'm feeling good. I'm just trying to finish this week out strong and then get up to Boston.
Wait, where in New England are you going? Or you're talking about Boston?
Yeah, Boston, right? Boston's New England, right?
I don't know, because I've always wanted to go to New England, but I just kind of want to go to the remote parts where you see.
Oh, yeah. I think that whole region is like it's multiple states have portions of New England. But I could be wrong because I'm from Atlanta, so and I'm not really interested in heavily populated places with a lack of minorities.
And New England is certainly under that umbrella.
Yeah, my business partner lives up there though, so I know he's gonna show us around. I've been to Boston once when I used to tour on Warped Tour. We went up there. We would hit New England, but Boston specifically, I went to once. But yeah, I haven't been up there since, which is almost a decade ago. So
yeah, okay, Boston is New England. I've been there more than once. It just felt so, urban. It was just kind of like I didn't see someone with the big boots on with lobsters in cages.
That's what I'm trying to go get the lobsters.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, that kind of stereotypical experience. But one day it can't be that expensive to go out there. It's not like
right now it is because I'm going 4th of July weekend. My tickets were crazy. Like
yeah.
I think I had to fly 2 different airlines. I'm flying Delta up and Southwest back because it was, I think total round trip, it was like 600 and something for me to fly up there. And I bought my tickets over a month ago, which is, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, the holidays will get you. Yeah, I'm trying to go to the places with the old school, like Essex, the places that have names that really are mirrors of their British counterparts. I have no idea what is in Essex. Oh, Plum Island. Let me close this map out.
I lived in England for 2 years, or 2 months. So I don't know if I want the lame American version of it.
You lived out where in England?
In England for 2 months. So like all over. I was like Peckham, like downtown London, and then a lot of I was all around. I was all over England. So, yeah.
Damn, I'm jealous because I've been to London, and that's again very urban, and all the experience that comes with that. You think, all right, I've experienced the humongous city and like getting trapped in the tube during rush hour, which was
there's too many people out there for me. Yeah, like London is cool if you go and you're there for like a week, that's cool. But for 2 months, I wouldn't. Like I was like in like the Yorkshire Sculpture Park. Like that's just like rolling countryside, and it's literally acres upon acres. And you go out there and you walk for hours and you just discover sculptures in the middle of fields or in the woods. Stuff like that was super tight. We went on a lot of hikes. So I think I got enough of the city life And, the country, we was in Brixton, which was the hood when I went, and it was like really cool. Now it's been gentrified, but yeah, I'm with you. I feel like it's dope to go see the people. Like we're going to Fenway, but I'm also going on some hikes and stuff,
Yeah, that kind of thing. Just interacting with the landscape. So speaking of interacting with the landscape, I've been interacting with the landscape of the producer community a lot lately with the whole Bobby Shmurda video that I made and posted. It actually did really well. I think it's probably at 100,000 or more total plays across platforms. So, not viral status. I'm not getting any sort of TikTok check off of this, but it made its rounds. And there continues to be fallout from the statements. I'd say overwhelmingly there was a lot of support, just because I think the way I approached it, it wasn't reactive in the sense that I think a lot of producers heard the conversation and reacted to his statement about, advances being too high. And he said $8,000 for a beat. My initial reaction to that was, damn, 8,000 for a beat, that's pretty standard. But I didn't realize he wasn't signed to a major anymore. So at that point, no, $8,000, you can't expect $8,000 from an unsigned artist for a beat advance. No way. Again, and we've had this conversation. Remember the whole, like, people always try to act like independent labels have the same reach as major labels. They don't. Major labels are worth billions of dollars, literally billions. Look this stuff up. You can look up the valuations of these companies. Something like Universal Music Group. Matter of fact, let me look this up. Universal Music Group is worth, let's see, 50 billion. That's a lot of money. Compare that to an independent label. They're not worth anywhere near that. They're not even in the billions. If they were in the billions, UMG would still be worth 50 times more. And they're not even there yet. So think about that. So you got to understand the budgets are very different. Independent labels probably, in my experience, they pay some of the larger independents between 1,000 and 3,000 per beat. I'm sure if you're working on like Tyga's project with Empire, they're technically independent. They might pay more than 3,000. I'm sure if you're a big producer and you're asking for 5,000 from, say, a Tech 9 album, Strange is probably going to give it to you because that's their flagship artist, and they just tend to work with producers really well, and also in my experience. But I'm not expecting 8,000 to 10,000 from them. That would just be, I would burn a bridge. I'm not going to do that. I want to work with those artists.
My artist who signed to an indie, her first album cycle, she got $1,500 for the song, everything, and then $1,500 for the marketing budget. So it's like that includes mixing and mastering. So like you could do the math. It's anywhere between 500 and 1,000 we're spending on a beat. And then we have to spend, they have in-house mixing and mastering, but we still have to pay for it technically. Cause the dude, you know what I'm saying? Like he normally charges 2,000 per song to master. Now we get it at 500 per song. So it's people thinking that independent artists signed to indie labels are getting these bags. I mean, her current album cycle, we're a little higher than that, but that's after she's recouped a ton. She's been on the label for 2 years, but still we're trying to keep some of that because that's technically a song advance. So if we don't spend it all, she could put $250 in the hair and makeup or something, so I don't know. People got to you should know what the landscape of the business is before you make demands.
Well, then the other thing too was people were saying, well, Bobby can afford it. Bobby can afford it. Bobby. Do people really think that artists are using their personal assets and liquid assets to fund their own albums? I mean, not some are, but that's really not the norm. And even then, if you're smart, you should be calculating. I'm from the DIY world, everything we're investing our own money, especially starting out. If I have a deal with a label, that's a different situation. But if I release a project independently, I'm paying for the music video, I'm paying for this and that. So and I had a friend, and I did this, I had a friend shoot an amazing music video for me. He was charging me in the hundreds. If this had been a music video for somebody else, I would fully expect him to ask for maybe the thousands if that person is a major label artist, because they have a budget allocated for that. Everyone has different budgets allocated for whatever, especially when you're like, people were making it seem as though the whole chain conversation that Dame brought up, people were like, well, he had, look at the chain he's wearing in the video. Yeah, that chain might be worth something. You really expect him to sell that just to build $100,000 for his production budget for his album? And this shouldn't blow my mind because I'm on the internet all the time and people say a lot of wild stuff, but it kind of did. And I also want to make something else clear, and I think this might even be true for it's certainly true for independent artists, but it might be true for major artists to an extent, but it's definitely true for producers. Producers are not wealthy because of advances. It's all this other stuff. So if you're willing to walk away from a placement because it's $3,000 instead of $10,000, you're being short-sighted. That $7,000, it's not going to change your music career. You can buy some stuff in the short term, but within 3 months, that $7,000 is gone. Especially with the cost of living today, if you live in the States. If the agreement is bad in the sense that they're not offering you the right amount of points, or for some odd reason, which is rare, they're trying to do some type of buyout on all your rights, like your publishing / underlying composition, then yeah, walk away from that, or have your lawyer get aggressive. They've tried that with me before, and you just get an aggressive lawyer, and it usually works out. But I was referring to producers saying stuff like, and this is the crazy echo chamber of the internet where everyone is susceptible to this virus that is a terrible idea that just spreads throughout the community. I was seeing producers say stuff like, well, Dr. Dre gets, $1 million per beat, so I would never accept $3,000 for a beat from Bobby Shmurda.
There's no way people are saying that. There's no way that anybody on God's green earth is comparing themselves to Dr. Dre, who formulated the beginnings of hip hop. What?
That was a lot of what was happening. It was people saying, well, I heard it, because people say things. People say things all the time. So I've gotten paid tens of thousands of dollars for a beat. Maybe once, maybe twice. That's not my baseline. It's not. I'm not gonna walk down the street. I'm at the grocery store and someone says, "Oh, are you DJ Payne One?" Yeah, I'm trying to get a beat. I'm not gonna say, "Yeah, well, if you don't have $26,000, don't even talk to me." That would be absolutely insane. And what would be even more insane is me to say, well, I've never sold a beat for that much money, but I know so and so. What were we talking about? I think it was
Mike Dean.
How much does Mike Dean charge? Or there were other people that were saying what they got for. I think it was in the Southside interview that Dame was referencing, where he gets $100,000 per beat, or that's what he said in the interview, at least. Am I him? Am I gonna say, okay, well, you know what? I heard he got $100,000 for a beat. I'm gonna ask for $100,000 for a beat. Cool. Guess whose career is gonna continue taking off and whose is gonna tank? Southside's career is gonna keep going up. Mine is gonna tank because no one's paying me $100,000 for a beat. And if you think this way, you're in for a shock. And again, I've mentioned this before. Some producers have become actual millionaires off of $50 beat leases, or even cheaper. They really have. I'm just kind of sick of trying to force horses to drink to the water that I've led them to, because, we're having these conversations and it's pretty clear who's ready to incorporate themselves more into the business and who's ready to have a higher level conversation about the business. If the experience isn't there, it's really going to be hard to have these conversations with a person. Because, again, you can just go on the internet. It doesn't matter how much good information you have. You can go on the internet and see something, and if you accept that, you've derailed everything. Like, you go on the internet and you see someone say, "I'll never take less than 50,000 for a beat because that's what so and so gets," and then your entire foundation for building wealth as a producer crumbles at that point that you accept that idea. So, yeah, I mean, I've said this a million times. Be careful which ideas you allow into your mind. Be careful of everything you consume, because a lot of people out there are putting out some ideas that will essentially poison your mentality.
Yeah, I think that a good business practice is knowing where you are in the market and then setting your standard according to that, but being wise about it. So like, people hit me all the time, like, "Yo, can you manage me?" That's still the most common question that I get. And I'm just highly aware that people don't listen or pay attention to anything that I do. Because if you know anything about me, I always say management is my least favorite thing. It takes the most time and makes me the least money. And I don't even personally manage people on my own. My company does. But we have a standard, a minimum. We're not taking on anybody who doesn't make us a minimum of $2,500 a month. And even that is like, we really got to like you. We have a staff of 8 to pay, right? However, I understand that that is not accessible to everybody. I only charge $150 currently. I don't know how long that's going to last. $150 an hour to consult with independent artists. If I was like, same thing with you. "Oh, well, that's no money. You can't talk to me." Even the Excellence Academy. Excellence Academy is $55 a month. And I get on there 3 times a month and teach for an hour. That's even cheaper because I want to be accessible. So that's 3 different prices. 55, 150, 2,500. All 3 of those are still working with me. Now, it's varying degrees for sure, but I have an accessible price point, but when I take on corporate clients, it's no less than $5,000 a month. Because I'm like, the type of things that you're going to cherry pick for me and implement and then pass me to the side, you're going to at least pay for me to be here for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And that's currently in July of 2022. By next year, it's going to be astronomical. I already know that. But I think it's foolish. I see it happen all the time. I think it's foolish. Like, okay, for instance, Tinny. I don't know if you're familiar with Tinny. She's one of the biggest Nigerian artists in the world right now. She's massive. Tinny did a song with my artist Wande, who is nobody, but they're from the same tribe and like have like similar friend ties and family ties on the continent. And she was like, "I really rock with this song. Toss me this little amount of money." Like I was blown away how little she took, but she was into it. But she's also a brand partner with Budweiser. When she does a hook, her hook rate was 10 times what she charged us to be featured on the song. Just a hook. And she's such a good songwriter. She can sit down for 30 minutes and write a hook. She's insane. But she's willing to expand. I feel like my artist is going to be huge. And I know every manager says that, but really and truly, I think Wanda is going to be massive. I think years from now, that's going to be an investment that Tinny put into the future of things. You know what I'm saying? It's all cyclical. So you got to look at what you want to invest in. Are you investing in a momentary come up? Are you investing in longevity and good relationships? I think about all the people that I've given something to, even though it doesn't give me something right away, and I see their career take off or something happen. And now it's like, it breeds community. And I'm really big about community. I think people are so individualistic and so selfish. It makes them short-sighted, and it makes you a really terrible business person. The richest people give a ton of value. It's a principle. If you listen to Warren Buffett, if you Naveen Jain, these are like billionaires that I follow, and all they talk about is giving. The more value that you give, the more worth it you become, because you may give value to somebody who can't pay you for it, but when the people who can pay you for it are there, they're going to pay you because they've seen you delivering these things. If you're just holding it in like, nope, nobody gets any of my beats, you're never going to get the amount of money that you want, because nobody's going to have a proof of concept. Nobody's going to say, oh yeah, this beat is incredible, the song took off. Or even if the song doesn't take off, if you can say 150 artists I've gotten 150 placements this year, and you're 6 months in, then you say, hey, I need at least 500 for a beat. Then people are like, okay, damn, I get it. Then a year from now, if you're like 1,000, I've had 1,000 placements in the last year, I need $1,000 for a beat. Then people feel like you're giving them a discount. They're like, oh, damn, he's got 1,000 placements. His beats are only 1,000. You got to figure out what works for you. But a lot of it is about building credibility. If you're too caught up in this momentary gain, you're missing everything. And I think people just are so short-sighted because they want to have that one moment where they can post on the internet with the brick of money in their hand. And it's like, you look foolish. And I don't get it. It's just like, I feel like the music industry or the entertainment industry is one of the few places that people can have no common sense and just expect people to go along with their bullshit.
Yep. Well, and you can, I mean, if you got $3,000 for the beat advance, after splits with the collaborator and management and lawyer, like just get it all in ones, and you can still have that Instagram moment. Do what everyone else has been doing for the last 10 years, or borrow some extra stuff. I don't know. People are lying.
They sell fake money now that looks real.
Yeah, they do.
Fake money.
It's cheap. I've seen it for music videos. You get like stack of 10,000 for $8 or something. I don't know. But I'm going hard on the producer community. I want to flip the coin over and talk about this other narrative, which is that beats are too expensive. And I know you said there's no way that people are talking about that. Yes, they are. So hand in hand with that is this idea that, and I've seen a bunch of people, they'll call producers vultures. They'll call producers evil, just for charging for beats. It doesn't matter how much you charge. You could be charging, because I've seen producers charging $5, $10, $20. I don't want to touch the subject of super unreasonably low priced beats, but to look at the landscape of beat prices and think, wow, $5 for a beat, that's way too much. Producers are evil. They're money hungry. They're greedy, is absolutely unreasonable and borders on sick to me. But there's still that prevailing narrative. And I hear it all the time, because I'm critical of the producer community doesn't mean that I'm not critical of other parts of the music business. I am. So when I have these conversations with artists that expect me and other people to just cater to them for free, and I have 15 years of experience professionally, you want that for free when you have 0 years professionally, then that's a conversation that betrays your own inexperience and just lack of understanding of how the world works and lack of respect for other people. But the thing that I get from recording artists all the time is this whole, do it for the love, do it as an investment. Producers should work with rappers as 50-50 partners. They should work for free. They should do, splits. And my opinion of this might surprise you. I think, yes, new producers should absolutely do this, because here's what it taught me when I was first starting out and I was just working with the people around me. I wasn't asking for money. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I'm building beats up, they're recording. I'm learning how to make the right kinds of beats because I had nothing but time at that point. It was really fun. It was new. All the people or all the rappers around me, they were having fun too. So we're not stuck in any sort of routine. We're not rigid. We're not making demands of each other. I mean, if we are at that point in life, then get those people out of your lives. But for the most part, everyone's on equal footing. So you're telling me, oh, change this up, or I like this kind of beat, or, do this with the drums, because we're all in the same room. I remember how that was for years of my life. Everyone's in the same room. I'm learning how to sequence beats. I'm learning how to record. I'm learning how to vocal produce. All of these things that I didn't realize I was actually learning, I was learning simply because what was the other option? There wasn't another option. I had to be the person to put everything together. We all had to work together. And since I was the guy in front of the computer, I was doing all of that, and I learned all of that. Now, after I did that for a while and paid my dues and learned and got my experience, then yes, the other thing too is rappers were learning from that, because they're working with a producer. They're becoming better songwriters. We're exchanging ideas. They're seeing the process from zero. They're not just getting a beat off the internet, recording by themselves, and then putting it out. They're getting input. They're seeing how everything comes together, and they get a better understanding of the songwriting process, and the production process too, because a lot of rappers produce to an extent their own music. But here's the problem. Most people are full of shit across the board, which means once you've done this 50-50 stuff with a few rappers and a few producers, you've learned what you needed to, hopefully. Your talent and experience levels are up, and it's time to graduate and cut off the people that aren't serious. And that, unfortunately, might be everybody. In my case, it was damn near everybody. It was like virtually all the rappers that I was working with very early on when I was learning to produce, I was the one trying to get them on board. Like, come on, we can do this. Let's commit. Let's focus. This is possible. And they wanted to do everything under the sun but commit to the music career. So eventually I just had to get rid of it. And they were upset about it. It's like, oh, now you don't fuck with us because you got a plaque. And it's like, no, I don't spend my time, because every time there's a situation where we both are working on a project, I'm doing 95% and you're doing 5%. So I had to get rid of a lot of those people. And that's fine. Now I make a living doing this. That's how that works. I like, you play, if you're playing pickup games at the YMCA and suddenly you sign to an NBA deal, they might not see you anymore. That's just how it is. And now suddenly you're making money based on your value within that field. People act like you're so evil for doing that. People act like you're just, why I don't understand, but it doesn't happen in any other field, I don't think.
It's selfishness, I feel. People are like, oh, you changed up. It's like, how do you run a profitable business if you don't eventually level up? I think it's this like mentality where people feel like you owe them. If you started together, you owe them. My thing is, if we started together and I elevated, my expectation is that you should have elevated too. We were at least near some of the same soil, and I don't mind helping a homie, but it can't be, like you said, I realized I was constantly partnering with people who knew that I had the resources and the know-how and the desire and the zeal. And they're like, oh, well, I'm talented. And it's like, then how come I have to work hard? I have to know people. I have to spend my own money, but you can just be talented? How is that fair? And I feel like if people were to step back and see what they were saying and experience it on their side, they would be extremely offended.
They'd never accept it.
Yeah, because people are selfish as fuck. They just feel like it's about me and it's got to be about me, so it's an issue with you. But they'll never see it as selfishness. They see it as your boundary is you changing up, or you don't have integrity. I've had people tell me so many times I don't have integrity because I refuse to give into what they're doing. I'm like, that's not true. That's just, you're telling yourself that so you can justify your selfishness. And I think it's unhelpful. I think you should evaluate yourself If you're offended when somebody tells you no, that means that you're entitled. If you're offended when somebody says, hey, I don't traditionally do this, I'm unwilling to do this thing for you. Like literally my friends, I'm talking about I have a new podcast with the guy that we just started. Before, outside, the podcast is about personality, people, whatever. He's also a musician. He still pays me for consultations when he wants to do something music wise. This is my like real life friend. You know what I'm saying? But he pays me for him because he understands I have a knowledge that he doesn't have and I have a service that I'm offering. I would do it for free, but I'm not going to tell him. Every time I tell him I'm super grateful that you paid for it. He never asked for a discount or anything. But same with him. If he engineers something for me, if he records something for me, he's teaching me how to set up the mic. I'm teaching him for that because that's how you have to value the services if you don't ever want to pay people or give what people want, you'll never get it for yourself. If you can't give into that, that's a lot of reason why that's another reason people don't elevate. They're not willing to invest in other people. And then they're like, well, how come you don't pay for my beats? How come you don't pay me for this? Because you don't do it. It's the rules of the earth, the laws of attraction, the laws of the kingdom, whatever you believe, it works for everybody. If you don't give, you won't receive. And if you keep asking why it's not happening for you, it's because you're not doing what you need to do.
But the crazy part is for me when it's someone that you don't even know and have never talked to and they're expecting that. So for example, I just got a DM from someone saying that they wanted to work with me and develop them and turn them into a star for a 50-50 split. It's a real DM. They have 1,000 followers on Instagram and 0 posts. I'd be doing all the work and I don't know who they are, how they sound, if they're serious or not, what they look like, how much music they've put out, what their experience level is. But that's their expectation. They expect to send me a DM, and just because they tell me that they're talented, because that's what they always do. They say, hey, let's do a 50-50 thing. I know we could take over the world. I know we could run the game. I know we could make a classic 50-50 partnership. No. Do you know how many talented, there were some, and this happens to me regularly, but it happened to me yesterday. There were some artists that licensed some of my beats, and they're cheap. And they sent me back the music that they made to my beats. And I was like, damn, I'm actually impressed by this. This sounds great. And I have those moments a lot where someone will come back and it's like, yeah, they got a 4-for-1 deal. And they sent me back the recordings that they made with the beats and they sound great. Now I actually know that person is talented, but these are people that there are people that are doing entire projects to my beats. And granted, I keep my prices so low that they're able to do that again and again and again, but the music is still amazing. So, and I've worked with my favorite artists of all time. So it's kind of not worth it to DM me and say, hey, I'm great, we could make classics. I'm like, I've worked with Public Enemy, I've worked with Nas, I've worked with Ludacris, I've worked with Do or Die and Twister. Like I've worked with Tech Nine, I've worked with Royce the 5'9". I've worked with some of the greatest rappers ever. So you telling me that you're dope doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry.
And if you really believed you were that dope, and this is what I'm convinced on, if you really believed that you were that dope, you would have invested in yourself and you would be trying to do everything. When I used to manage my first band, they were everything. I still love their music. Like they were so tight. When we were going to people, they were saying no. I'm like, bet. And we just kept moving. We ended up on Warped Tour the second year that they were even a band. You know what I'm saying? Kevin Lyman saw us. We did Warped Tour. There was so many opportunities that we got that helped validate that I knew what I was talking about, but we still had to keep working. We went to Zoo Labs, then we went and toured overseas. Baby bands don't do stuff like that, right? But what I realized, and this is no shot to them, a lot of it was me. When I left, a lot of that disappeared. So then that belief on their side, no disrespect to them dudes, right? Shout out to them. But A lot of that left. So now for me, that tells me that I got it, right? So when people say, are you sure? People don't say that to me anymore. The resume's too long. But people used to, are you sure? I don't really know if you know what you're talking about.
Wait a minute. I just went gold again yesterday, or I found out
Come
I did.
on. Come on,
And
talk.
I'm still getting these DMs. So
Okay,
I
my
need the Erinn
DMs.
energy.
No. My DMs are crazy though. I'm just saying in real life, when people talk to me and say things like that, I'm like, oh, I'm okay if you don't want to partner with me. It's because you don't understand what I have got going on, right? I'm okay with that. But on the internet, my point in this is that if you really believe in yourself, you don't need somebody else. Everybody needs somebody, right? Everybody needs a community. But for me, you when you go look at me, if I'm asking you to come partner with me, because that's all I ask for. I don't ask for handouts, I ask for partnerships. If I'm asking you to partner with me, you go look at the resume, you go look at what I'm undeniable. Even when I wasn't undeniable, I knew inside of me, every time somebody told me no, I'm just going to show them that I'm the one that they need. When people don't have, like you said, no post on their page, when you're talking about, well, we released one song, but we're really looking for direction. Oh, well, I released 10 songs 8 years ago, but I really just got to get started. You don't get it. You don't really believe in yourself. Because if you did, you would be all in. So you're asking me to commit to your idea of greatness is a concept that a lot of people don't understand. They talk about it, but you got to live it. And greatness is a daily sacrifice. The greatness is you being willing to give up everything, right? Most people aren't willing to do that. So what they want is, this is what the video I just posted about too. What they want is somebody to say, oh, let me pluck you from obscurity and sit you in this place that I had to work forever for. And then I'm going to help you because what? Why would I help you? That's what I want to know. How do you help me? If we're looking for a mutually beneficial, go ahead, Paige. I'm the greatest gift to earth. I have a really honed voice. I'm making music that nobody has ever heard. If nobody ever made any more music, the world would be okay. If we could go back, we could dig through SoundCloud, we could dig through people's hard drives. The world doesn't need more music. The world needs something different. And you just saying that you're different isn't enough, right? That's not enough. You got to prove it. And I think people are foolish. It's foolishness. You do not really believe in yourself, because if you did, your actions would line up and it would be undeniable to me to want to work with you. You wouldn't have to DM me. I'd be DMing you. And I do it. I hit people up all the time. Like, yo, what you got going on? You don't what? You do not believe in yourself if you don't have anything to show for it. You don't. And that's an issue you have to fix before you come ask me for help or Pain or Dame or anybody.
Yeah, because I'm looking at these 50-50 partnerships and they seem like commission situations where it's like, all right, look, you make all my beats, you produce my album, you help me get to a point where I'm famous and wealthy, and then you get 50% because it's a partnership. It's like, no, but I just did 90% of the work and you're offering me a 50-50 split because you look at your own talent as so much more valuable than not only my own talent, but my experience, my energy, my time. And again, if you're approaching me like that, you are full of shit. You are. It always goes back to relationships. Think about a man approaching a woman at a bar and is like, yo, I'm the alpha. I got everything you need. I can change your life. You're an idiot if you give him your phone number, and you're even stupider if you go home with him, because he's talking and he's full of shit. And this is the same thing artists are doing to me all the time. So going back to when I was doing the 50-50 deals, and like, granted, I still do them. Okay, don't get me wrong, I do them. I'll talk about that in a second, but
and I still help artists who can't pay me. I just want to say that too. It's just got to make sense.
And then that goes back to the whole, like, producers are getting $1 million per beat. A lot of producers that are rich and popular are working with artists for free because they believe in them. Let's just get that out of the way. But after you deal with all these, 50-50 situations that don't go anywhere, but you learn from them, your next challenge, in my opinion, as a producer, is to find the artists that want your services and sell them to them. That's how the market works. That's what people want that, you can provide it. I mean, if you're good at what you do and people are willing to pay for it, it's a win-win. It's like any other person doing good business. Why do producers get called evil and greedy for charging for beats? But if a rapper puts on a good show and the fans like them, then the promoters pay them, and that's the expectation. No one's calling the rapper greedy. I'm certainly not. If you put on a good show and you bring people out, you deserve money from the promoter. Or from the bar or whoever. That's how it works. If a producer's good, they charge for beats. There's nothing wrong with that. And here's a response I got on Twitter, which was, I'd say, really asinine, but also kind of genius in the sense that it ties everything together. It was this long whole thing about how producers shouldn't charge for beats because look at Gucci Mane and Zaytoven. Look at them. Zaytoven invested all this time into Gucci, and now they're both winning. Listen, find producers like Zaytoven and find rappers like Gucci Mane. They don't really exist that often. They're the 1%. Do you really?
But they were also on the same level. People come to you asking for you to do that. Gucci and Zay were nobodies when they got together.
Well, but they were working though a lot.
But I'm saying comparatively to what
compared to what they became
now, they were just Atlanta dudes. Like Zay was making beats for everybody, $200. Gucci was a street legend. And yeah, Gucci has some notoriety, but if you got outside of the South, you're not really, nobody knew who Gucci was.
No, but they both had proof of concept in their own city. So you don't have to be convinced to work with somebody whose actions prove that they are capable of elevating themselves and capable of achieving their own goals on their own. So if there's someone in my city, and this happens from time to time, there's an artist in my city that suddenly you look at them and say, where did this person come from? How do they have, 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify? How are they getting all these shows? How are they, people are talking about them. No one knows of them outside of the city or outside of the state, but I want to work with this person because look what they've managed to do. So you hear about this all the time. People, well, what about this famous rapper and this famous producer? That these partnerships are rare. They're the 1% of all partnerships. And these are from people who were already very clearly on an upward trajectory. They were not people who had to talk their way into a situation. They proved their way into a situation. Also, this is another thing. I don't want to hear shit about how expensive beats are. If you use the buy one, get one, or buy one, get three free sale that I'm running right now, my beats are about $15 each. At the standard license price, and I'm multi-platinum. I've had number ones, I've had a hit single as of this year, and a lot of my peers with tons of plaques are charging similar prices. I looked this stuff up. The average night out in a city like Chicago, which is the nearest huge city to me other than Milwaukee, and they probably have a similar price on this. The average night out in a city like Chicago is $90. You can get 6 beats for that. The average cost of name brand shoes is over $110. You can get 8 beats for that. That's your whole album. Beats actually generate money. Drinks and shoes don't. So if you get these songs out and they're actually good and you're actually playing shows and your music videos are monetized, and you're running a Patreon or whatever, you're monetizing your fan base, which most artists unfortunately aren't, that little fee for the beat is nothing. I mean, think about every other bill. If you're spending even $300 in a month off for a whole album, and you do that several times a year, that's a very low overhead for you running a business. I had an artist who was outraged say that beats were too expensive, said he buys all unlimited rights and can spend up to $1,500 a month on beats, which he said is hard to do because he has bills. Now, one, it's his choice to get those licenses. But number 2, I don't know why he thinks producers don't have bills. There's this weird, when someone's talking to you, like, man, I would love to pay for your services, but I got bills. And it's like, yeah, so do I. I'm looking to, like, I pay for my living space, everything. Like, this is a water bill here.
I think this was my thought. I told you leading into this, like, what are you willing to give up? Like you said, a night out is on average $90. I don't go out, so I never spend those things because I tell people I'm not coming out unless I'm getting paid. Just because I work in the entertainment industry, I don't enjoy it anymore. But there are other things that I spend money on. Like I have a sneaker subscription. I pay for shoes every month. But I wanted to hire an executive coach last year. I cut off all those things because I was like, this is more important to me because I know this is going to level me up. Like, what are you willing to give up? I know for a fact, nobody who is willing or is not willing to invest in their craft will ever make a living off of it, because that's good business. So I think it's almost foolish for us to address these idiots, because it's like, you clearly just do this for a hobby. And because you do it for a hobby, you think everybody else should do it for a hobby. So there should be no charge. But like you said, you're charging platinum producer $15 for a beat, one. But two, you should have a budget set aside. That's like back to what you were saying earlier. All of my artists I have one artist who signed. All of my other artists are independent, and she signed to an independent label. All of my other artists, completely independent. They have budgets. We set aside a marketing budget. This is they make music money before it even goes into their account. Hey, this is their album budget. This is their marketing budget. This is the budget that we're going to use on merchandise. This is what we're going to put on ads. So they may make $250,000, $300,000 a year. They got 50 or 60,000 set aside just to put the music out. Why would you say I have bills? That's the purpose of investing in these things, so that these things can pay your bills. That shit is so ridiculous to me, because everybody but babies got bills. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's life.
Well, and then why is that? Why should that affect? Like, I spend at least $1,500 a month just on marketing my beats. I have bills. On top of that, I don't blame recording artists for that. I don't raise my beat prices and say, well, it cost me $3,000 to get a new computer last year, so you should give me more master royalties. That's not how that works. Or I don't talk to Soul, and like, we make music 50-50 because both of us brought something to the table. I don't say, hey man, I've been spending a lot of money on food lately. Can I get 60% of what we make?
I have had an artist hit me like that, and I was like, what? So listen, he literally was like, I've been spending a lot of money on X, Y, and Z. I'm not really making more. Can you lower your percentage? And I was like, what? No. What? What do your spending habits have to do with my money?
You're right though. I don't want to even give this narrative more airtime, because trust me, beats did not cost $19.99 20 years ago. There was no YouTuber beat stars back then. There were no home studios that cost $150 to set up. It's just an amazing time to be a music creator. It's damn near free to make music in 2022. And you can monetize every piece of your content. It's nobody's fault but your own if you don't know how to do that, because the information is free and it's freely available. So at the end of the day, this is a career. It's fun, but just because it's a fun career doesn't make it any less of a career. So if you're not treating it as one, it won't be one. And unfortunately, for the people that are digging in their heels about investing in themselves, that comes with the territory of running a business. You invest in your business. There's no way around it. And the good news for you is that everything is cheap. It really is. Everything is cheap. You can drop ship your merch. You can get beats, buy one, get three free. You can connect with songwriters online and probably, pay $100 for a hook from a talented person. you can do everything nowadays for very little. And that should be something to be grateful for, because your creativity has no limits. I don't know. I'm not upset about any of this. I'm happy. I'm embracing it. So I can't relate to the people that think, either, Bobby Shmurda paying $3,000 for a beat is lowballing, even though he's unsigned, or that $24.99 for a beat is unaffordable. I don't know.
I'm convinced that people who say Bobby is lowballing at $3,000 have never gotten paid $3,000 for a beat.
I'm convinced of that too, and I think it's just like a Twitter thing. Now, granted, there are producers that get 10 plus for a beat, but it's like, then don't work with Bobby. Like and if you want to work with him, you certainly can. Like I said, I've known big time producers, legendary producers, working with unsigned artists, working with artists that they've never heard of in their lives, just because they wanted to. I mean, there's no law saying once you make 10,000 a beat, you can never accept anything less. That's ridiculous.
Timbaland is working with one of the managers that I work with regularly. Timbaland's working with his artist. His artist has less than 20,000 monthly listeners. Timbaland is literally sending them beat packs, like whatever you want, go ahead. Like legitimately, you know what I'm saying?
I believe you, because I've seen that happen. I've seen it happen, and I've had conversations with, Grammy Award winning producers who are just, they'll cut their advance fee in a fifth just to work with an artist that they believe in and whose project they want to be a part of. Actually, at that point, it's kind of like when you're first starting out as a producer, you have nothing to lose, so just you can work with whoever. And at the point where you've already kind of made it and you have enough money, you're kind of in a similar position where you can do whatever you want. So I don't know. The internet's weird. I think that's really the only takeaway from all this. The internet's weird. The internet's full of people. People are weird, so the internet just magnifies that weirdness. And here we are talking about it. So that being said, I think we're at about an hour. And I do have the number pulled up. So every single Tuesday I'm live with Looped In. Last Tuesday I made 4 beats. 4 freaking beats. I don't know how I did it, but I made 4 beats.
That's tight. Sheesh.
It was fun. So I hit the record. So any other producer that comes on my show, you gotta aim for 4. I didn't think I was gonna beat Ricky P, but I did. And shout out to Ricky P and Taylor Gang. But if you want to know when I'm online making these beats, or when my celebrity producer guests are, just text MEC to 844-206-7800, and then also join. We talked about Excellence Academy a bunch earlier on, so let people know how to join that.
Join the Excellence Academy. The link is in my bio at the Erinn Effect, or you can just type in theexcellenceacademy.biz. This is me teaching you how to make a living being yourself. So if you're a producer, you feel like you're not making enough off your beats. If you're an artist and you're trying to make money off of your music, I'm showing you how, and I'm showing you all the other ways in the music industry to make money around and in music.
All right. Once again, appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully Dame's back with us and feeling better next week. And we will catch you on the next episode of the podcast. Peace.